वीर्यङ्करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहैः। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। So we saw, and the fourth question was, if prana is enlivening the body through one's lifetime, why is it that in one day we have three different types of experiences? So in order to answer that question, what was introduced is the fact that we generally think that we only have this one body that we see, which is what I'm able to see with my eyes. So what the Vedas say is that yes, what you are able to see it is Sthula Sharira. Sthula Sharira is what we call the physical body. But in addition to the physical body, you have one more body, and that is what we call two more bodies. And the second one is what? Subtle body. How do I know? How do I know? Why should I believe that I have a second subtle body? So therefore, what it says is, if I look at somebody's body, what I can see is the physical body. What I cannot see when I see that body is what certain functions of that body. I can see the physical ear of somebody, but I cannot know by looking at the person whether the ears can hear or not. I'm not able to see what the person is thinking. I have no access to what is the digestive system of somebody else. Or how is the circulatory system of somebody else. Even if you go and see the doctor has to ask you questions. It's not you enter and the doctor knows. You have to talk to the doctor. So that is what we call, there are functions which are taking place within your body which are not perceptible. That's why there is no hanky-panky here. Nobody can say, I don't believe in it. That is, show me why not. Right. So that is what we call, there is a subtle body which is doing it. Viresh asked the question, what exactly constitutes of subtle body? What did we see? The capacity of your 5 sense organs, 5 organs of action, then 5 prana, and 4 functions of the mind. This is constituting of subtle body. So in the new age spirituality, there are concepts such as astral bodies and all, that figures nowhere here in Vedanta. Then, in addition to that, you can ask a question, why have we all come with different bodies? And not only we have come with different bodies, we have also come with different capacity of, different program of the subtle body. Somebody is really good at physics, somebody struggles with very basic math. So that means that or somebody is a great artist, somebody is a super singer, and somebody goes so besura that you can't hear. So how is it that we've all come with physical bodies and subtle bodies, but at the same time they are so different in their functions? They have a common range, but within that each one has one's own specificity. But in addition to that, not only that, we also go through what? Different situations in life. Not only people who's your neighbor has a different life, in your own home, each member has what? One's own life. So we have some common experiences that we share, depending upon the country in which we are born, the city or a village or a town in which we live, the area within the town that we live. There are some commonalities. But within those commonalities, there is what? Each one goes through one's unique experiences of life. So the question is, why are we born with different physical and subtle body? And with this physical and subtle body, why are we going through different situations? So that is what we call the causal body. Because we have, as we have seen, every action that we perform has what? Two types of result. One is experienced immediately, one is what? Collected. That collected part is, where is it collected? The causal body. So that means, what constitutes causal body? All your karmas. Karmas for which you have not yet experienced the result. So that constitutes the causal body, all the results of the karma, the results of actions that you have performed which have not yet fructified. That's why they are in what? Causal form. But they will fructify what? As the time goes. Within all these, nobody, Neeru was asking, yes, nobody knows what exactly is in my causal body. Nobody knows. That's why even within this, not only we don't know the sanchita karma, which is the collection of karmas that we are carrying with us through janmas, but not only that, even the prarabdha karma, the karma that is going to give you the experiences in this life, even that you don't know. One day at a time, it begins to what? Unfold. Morning can be very different from evening. One day can be very different from the other. So therefore, this is what this causal, the causes which are unfolding what? Day by day, moment by moment. And making you go through series of experiences. So that is what we call the causal body. So in this particular lifetime, you can't experience everything that is lying in your causal body, because in your causal body, this entire sanchit karma are lying. In this particular lifetime, with this given physical and subtle body, you will only experience what? The effects of the causes of one set of karma that are not yet fructified. And those set of karmas are called what? Prarabdha karma. So this is where, and what happens is, when the prarabdha karma begins to set in, when it begins to unfold, in the waking, please understand, in the waking, when you have all three bodies with you, which is what? Physical, subtle and causal body, then at that time you have faculty of choice. So that means the actions that you perform in waking state alone will give you what? Exactly. Will give you what? The future karma. In the other two states, which is what? The dream state, you don't accumulate new karmas, because that faculty of choice is not available to you. Some experiences that you gather, and then what, they remain in your subtle mind, and they will produce what, some world. So what it means, suppose you dream in a situation that you were really angry with somebody and you hurt the person in the dream. In that action of hurting performed in the dream, you will not accrue karma for that. Why? Because your entire faculty is not available to you. In the dream, you're only a bhokta. Bhokta means you go through certain experiences and you only exhaust some karma. But in the waking, you are what? A karta and a bhokta. You are a doer. Why? What is the definition of a doer? Definition of a doer is what? When you exercise your free will. Only then you are liable. So that means, and in the deep sleep also, you are essentially what? A bhokta. Just in fact, it's a very pleasurable experience. Deep sleep is a very pleasurable experience because the whole thing shuts for a while. It gives you a break from this incessant inputs and having to respond and all the psychological issues that you carry within you in that response. All that is what you're given a break from that. For how long? 5, 6, 7 hours, 8 hours, whatever. So that also, that in fact, in order to enjoy a good sleep, you need punya also. Because that good sleep is a result of what some, it gives you a break. That itself is very, very desirable. It's a desire, you're a bhokta. That experience, in fact, when the scientists look at all the things, that's why they do all these yoga nidra, shavasana. Because in those states, the mind and the body both relax the most. And they do a lot of repair, there's a lot of repairing work and rejuvenating work which is going on. Lot. So that means this, in sleep and dream, you are only a bhokta. Bhokta, what does it mean? You go through experiences, but you don't accumulate new karmas. Only in the waking, when you have all three bodies with you, where your faculty is complete. Why is the faculty complete? Because you have all three bodies with you. You have everything. And you have faculty of choice. When you exercise those choices, you have this seen and unseen result. So that means while you are going through experiences, you also accumulate what? New causes. Depending upon what? The actions that you have chosen, which will produce what? The results later. So this is how the causal body carries what? The sanchita karma, out of which prarabdha karma are beginning to fructify. And while you are exhausting the prarabdha karma, you are accumulating what? Agami karma. And therefore, your causal body account, when will it close? You will, exactly, the only time the whole account will close is when you get moksha. There is no other way. Because by the time you exhaust some karma, you accumulate what? New karmas. When will this whole process of taking birth through different bodies and going through different experiences, when will it stop? It can't stop. You say, oh, I just want to do good karma. It will give you good results. It will bring you back with hopefully a little better living conditions, better family, Wonderful. But it will not stop it. So now, the next question. Did you understand why do we go through? And therefore, now, the logic that I want to go through again, and that is, how do I know? That's a very common. How do I know that there is a causal body and that carries forward karma? Common question. So the easiest way to kind of make you see that there is a causal body is look at your daily experience rather than thinking about what happens after death. Your daily experience is that in the third state, which is what? Deep sleep, you give up your connection with your physical and subtle body. If there was no connecting link in form of the causal body, next morning you will get up with no connection. What gives that continuity is what? The presence of causal body, where it was latent, the causes were latent, will become what? Again? Active. Now you can extrapolate and you can say, just as every night the physical and subtle body goes into what, in my experience, I lose connection with it, but there is something which connects me to the next day. Those latent causes, after this body goes away, they don't go away, they connect me to another body. So that means the causes remain and they keep connecting. And that another body will depend upon what? From your whole Sanchita karma, which other karma are going to fructify. And that doesn't necessarily mean those karmas which are fructifying will give you a human birth. No guarantee. This is why they say Manushya Janma Durlabha. To get a human body is extremely precious work.
You have 86,000 rounds in the...
And then, why is it so important? So many people are, why is it important? We are all suffering and we have depression, and look at animals, they look so happy, they are so loving. Why is it considered so good to be a human being? You have faculty of choice and you have the intelligence to figure the whole thing out. Yeah, the whole thing. That is what makes the human birth a very special birth.
Born after human body after 80 lives, then why we've not really come with any karma?
Why not? Because the Sanchita karma.
Animal karma.
Yeah, exactly.
Because we were different animals and insects before.
Yeah.
And the first time, for example, I'm born, this is the first time, then what karma have I got?
Okay, see, this is a good question. The thing is, what we say is, when you are talking about this karma, what it says is, there are some yonis. Yonis is what? Some species where you're predominantly a bhokta. A bhokta means what? You're basically going through some karma. So Rajiv just asked me one question. So what kind of karma will make me, suppose, a tree? And I don't know, really, because I'm not Ishvara. But I just give him an example, right? I mean, that doesn't mean it's true. It's not that every tree is going through that. But suppose, as a human being, while I have a human birth, I mindlessly cut some thousands of trees. So now, in the next Janma, I may get a birth as a tree. And it's where I'll go through this experience of a man just coming and chopping it. I'll have to go through that to see how it feels to be on the other side. That's why we really in the Vedic thing is that, activities such as slaughter and all, you may think that it doesn't have any repercussions, but it does. So therefore,
eating non-veg food.
yeah, I mean, I don't want to get, yes, in some ways, yes. Yes, the least harm you do, the better. I don't want to create fears. I certainly don't want to give an advice. That is not my role, really. And I don't judge anybody because, you may be harming one way, but you may not be harming in so many other ways. And others can be harming in so many other ways and not harming in this way. So you can't make a judgment about a person. One rule is the least harm, the better. That is a rule that you can't deny. Yeah. So, therefore, in this Prasanita's question, right? So now, in that tree, when you take a tree birth, you don't have much of a free will to what? Fight back with a man who's going to chop you. So that means you're mostly a what? Bhokta. You're not a karta. Therefore, in that yoni, you're mostly what? Releasing what? Some of the karmas which are in your sanchita account. Now, the thing is, what according to the Vedic vision, which we will come, in Om it will come, right? So, the thing is that for us, the world did not start only at the time of Big Bang. There are cycles of creation. And I will prove, not prove, but I'll give you all the supporting logic and everything in the next question. So therefore, all of us have had what? Infinite births. Through cycles of creation, when you take out the linearity in the universe, what happens? The cyclical nature of the universe means what? That there are cycles and cycles and cycles and cycles of creation. So each one of us have, even if we have had only few births in which we accumulate new karma, we still have what? Infinite karma in our account. Even in this lifetime, from the time that you're born, you have exercised your free will. How many different karmas you've accumulated? Can you imagine? Every choice that you collapse from the first day when you begin to think, that has had consequence. And in one day itself, how many decisions we make? How many choices we make? And over a lifetime, how many karmas we accumulate? And we have had multiple lifetimes as human beings over cycles of creation. Therefore, the enormity of karma that we are holding on to is just mind-boggling. So even in some species, you mostly only experience, you're only a bhokta, not predominantly a karta, it still doesn't matter. You still have too many accounts, too many things in your account. So therefore, this continues on and on and on. Now, the thing is, when all the whole story of the universe, which is all this intelligent design, which created this whole setup. And then, what is the end, right? You have to have some end in mind. There is no story which begins and has what? No end.
It's exhausting.
Exactly, it is exhausting. So that means, for an individual, there is the end. And what is the end? That the end is called moksha. And that pursuit, what it is explained as an answer of next question. Next question. Number 5.1. Okay. अतः एनं सैभ्यः सत्यकामः प्रपच्छ स यः हवै तभ्यः अवगम्य मन्येषु मनुष्येषु प्राणायान्तः ओंकारम् अध्यायीत कथमं वाव स तेन लोकं जयति इति तस्मै स हो उवाच. So now the students who are listening to this amazing story of the universe with this intelligence, making the whole platform, all the interactions, the implications, and how it keeps going and continuing, and you know, all of that. Then where is every story has to have what some culmination, and then what everything, every piece of the thing has to what be put in place with reference to the individual. So therefore the question is, I have heard that through this upasana on Omkara, people get what? Some either relative release from this cycle of birth and death, or by knowing the meaning of Omkara, the people get absolute release, which is called moksha. So can you please explain what contemplation on Omkara is? Now, that's a big question. Omkara, in many of these, I don't know where all these things come. Oh, it's a kind of the first sound in the universe and all that. We don't have in Vedanta. Vedanta is just true. How do you know which is the first sound in the universe? Who heard that? So where, what is the any evidence there? So we don't get into some imaginations and some esoteric thing. That mentality is not there in Vedanta. Vedanta is just to say. So therefore, what is this Omkara? We have to understand properly.
This is the question.
Yeah, what is this Omkara? And by doing this contemplation on Omkara, what happens to the individual? Because you are looking for some kind of an escape from what this cycles of birth and death. As Kirti says, it sounds exhausting. So therefore, you first need to know what is Omkara. In Mandukya Upanishad, the Omkara is very clearly explained. So what is the vision of the Upanishads up to now? All that is here is Ishvara. Now if I ask you, what is Ishvara? Sarvajnaha Sarvashaktiman Ishvara. The knowledge and power which has created the whole platform of interaction and what is running the show through what series of cause and effects, through cycles of creation. So now, if I ask you, describe this Ishvara to me, all these things of, this karma and what, there were many different things which were mentioned, which is what prana, 5 elements, movements of sun and moon. But do you think the whole universe is only that? There are black holes, there are galaxies, there are so many things which are left out. And if you begin to count everything, plus all the subtle things and all the causal things, will you be able to fully describe Ishvara ever?
Yeah.
You cannot write down. If I said, okay, write down, you say Ishvara is everything, and I tell you, okay, come here on the board and write what everything is.
But same law applies to everything, no?
Exactly, but what is this everything?
That is impossible to know.
Exactly, absolutely.
I I can explain in today's modern world. The Ishvara, Puraja, is like a petrol. No, it's not. It's the same.
Okay.
Because Ishvara has nothing to do with action minus or plus.
Yes.
He is just a witness. So in the car also, there is a big car and a small car. So there are 7.6 billion people like this. They are indigenous human beings with a different, some has got a 500cc engine, 5000cc engine, and it keeps on working. And without the petrol, you cannot work. Anything like no five senses work. I mean, my
Yes.
apology for, but in this technological world,
Yeah.
this works a little more simple. But anyway, please go ahead.
Okay.
The first assumption that Ishvara is an observer itself is contradictory to this, no?
Yes. So in fact, Ishvara is the car, Ishvara is the driver, Ishvara is the petrol, Ishvara is the time space in which the driver and the car and in fact that is the meaning of what Ishvara is everything.
What is everything?
Sorry?
And what is everything?
Okay, exactly. What is everything? That is a $1 million question. Because if you try to enumerate what is everything, there is what? No end. As Madhav says, it's impossible to define what is everything.
Infinite. What is it? Physics is infinite.
Okay. Now, let's look at what Upanishads have to say. What is everything? This everything which seems like impossible to define, they have defined in one word, and that is Om. How? How? How is everything is defined in one word Om? Who said? Okay. That is, the word Om comes from what? Three syllables. A, U, and Ma. Now, in Mandukya Upanishad, you load this akara for something. What is this akara? What does the akara stand for? Excellent. Who knows? Who's giving this answer? Oh, Saloni is giving all these answers. Okay. I said, who's knows?
Okay, your answer because we
Okay, no, doesn't matter. No. Okay. Akara stands for what? The entire physical body. Entire physical universe.
When you say akara, it's akar, no?
Akara.
Akar. Oh.
Akar. But what happens is when we speak in Gujarati, when we say akar, what we do is that refa has a which we swallow when
No, I
we
just
speak.
wanted to know. when you
Yes,
say
yes,
no.
yes, akara. This akara stands for the entire physical universe. What is this whole physical universe? Things that are known to me and things that are not known to me. The physical objects which existed in the past and the physical objects which will exist in the future. That is what we call akara. Ishvara is what? Every physical form which has ever existed in this universe is what? A work of intelligence. The physical form of the past, the physical form of the present, and the physical form of the future. So that means the dinosaurs which existed in the past, the body of dinosaurs was a work of intelligence, made up of 5 elements, organized in a way that there was this huge creature. Then dinosaurs became extinct and mammals began to survive. The mammals' bodies are also what? Equally 5 elements. which are put together. Some species, in the Mauritius, there was a bird called dodo. Our teacher used to keep talking about it. The dodo people ate up and it became extinct. The dodo was also made up of what? 5 elements, which are what intelligently put together. So that means any species that existed in the past, any species which exists in the present, which are known to me and unknown to me, and any species which will come in the future, they are all work of this intelligence.
And that's akara.
That is akara. Now, in the universe, as we saw, now, in this physical universe, which is akara, it is divided as though, in my understanding, as what I am one physical body and everybody else is what? External to me, and they are all other physical bodies. So that means Ishvara includes what? Not only others' body and also my body. So what they say is, this akara, when I talk about my own physical body, it is called Vishwa. Vishwa. One physical body, which is my physical body, is Vishwa. The entire physical universe is the totality, it is called Virat. Virat. So that means, so this is where you have to understand, through this understanding, what are you getting? That Ishvara pervades everything and I am also what? One manifestation of Ishvara. Now, the entire physical universe doesn't only include, entire universe doesn't only include what? Physical forms, it includes what? Subtle forms. So that means Ishvara is the intelligence which puts together my subtle form and also what? The subtle body of everyone else in the past, in the present and in the future. And not only the subtle body of a human being, but also the subtle body of what? The fish. Fish has eyes are programmed differently. The digestive system is programmed differently. The birds, the minds are programmed differently. So that means the subtle body of the past, of the present and the future of all species everywhere, whether on earth or somewhere else. Known to me, unknown to me. That is Ukara of Om. Akara of Om stands for what? Physical universe. The physical universe is divided into two from my standpoint. One is my physical body and everybody else. My physical body is called Vishwa and everybody else is called Virat. The subtle body, my subtle body is called Tejasa. And subtle body of everyone else is called Hiranyagarbha.
But you said Virat and
That was physical. For
subtle
each thing there is a what we call Vyashti and Samashti. Individual and total.
But my subtle body is not called Sukura Sharira or
Sorry?
subtle body.
Yes.
You said the Sthula Sharira.
Okay, wait.
Sharira.
Saloni, can you write please? Yeah. So, my Sthula Sharira, right? When I see it as an entity which is within Ishvara, then it gets slightly a different name. Because now what I am trying to do is that Sthula Sharira is a generic name for every physical body.
Then you have subtle body,
Then you have subtle body.
that is called Sukura Sharira.
Yeah, exactly. So that you're right. So that means the physical body, which is everybody's physical body. Now when I'm thinking about Ishvara as the whole entity, what I'm seeing is, I'm seeing my physical body and I'm also seeing what? The physical body of everyone else. And the collective physical body of everyone else, which includes what? Every species that is there in this world. So that means there is individual and there is total. So Ishvara includes the physical body, my physical body, Roberto. So you are a physical body, I am also physical body. But now you are called Roberto and I am called Nima. That's all we are doing.
All the physical body are Vishwa.
The entire physical body, all the physical bodies are called Virat. Look at this, Vyashti. Yeah.
You had a big, you can't see. Yeah. Once.
You're writing in English, Tanvi?
Yeah. Nima, if Ishvara puts together all settled bodies and through the intelligence, then Ishvara should put together the causal body as well, because that doesn't disappear. So,
Excellent, it's coming.
oh, sorry.
It's coming. It's
Okay.
coming. Super, super. It is coming. That is Makara. A, U and Ma. So you got it before I explained it. That.
Hiranya what?
Hiranyagarbha.
Can you repeat that?
Yeah, I will. See, you want to now understand what is everything. Everything you cannot write item by item. But you need to understand what, when I say Ishvara, this intelligence is everything, you need to have what conceptual clarity about what this everything means. The universe is what does it have? One is what we call physical objects, right? Sthula Sharira, as Roberto was saying. But the Sthula Sharira, Ishvara is not only my Sthula Sharira, Ishvara is also what? Sthula Sharira of everyone, of the past, of the present and of the future. Why do I say Sthula Sharira is Ishvara? Why? Because every Sthula Sharira is made up of 5 elements. And we've just seen how the 5 elements are intelligently put together to become what any given species.
So maybe there is a question of creation. The Vishwa is a creation of my physical entity, while Virat is a creation of the other physical entity.
No. See, no. No. Ishvara, in fact, includes, see, Ishvara includes what? Everything means what? What is everything? One is what? The physical universe. What is in the physical universe? All the physical bodies. Physical bodies that existed in the past of a dinosaurs, physical bodies that exist now, the physical bodies which are going to the child which is not born yet, will be born in 10 years from now, 100 years from now. These are all the physical bodies.
That's Virat.
That is Virat.
I got that.
What about the rivers and mountains?
Yeah, that is also Virat. That is also part of Virat.
And what is Vishwa?
Vishwa is you, me the individual.
What's the difference between Vishwa and
Vishwa is one.
Sthula Sharira?
I think you need to put it all together all over again, which is very confusing.
It's very confusing.
It's very easy.
What is it?
Stula Sharira is the physical body.
And Vishwa is not physical body.
Vishwa is, when I'm looking at Ishvara as everything, what I want to do is, I want to include myself in this entire physical body. So I'm now, everybody see, you are telling me, oh, you are telling me you're a physical body and I'm also a physical body. Why are you renaming you as Roberto and me as Nima? Why? You also have a physical body, I also have a physical. Why don't you call physical body and me also physical body? Why are you calling Roberto? Why are you calling Nima? Why are you calling Rajiv? It's just a way of looking at it. Because what you want to do is, by looking at why do you want to contemplate on Ishvara? You want to contemplate on Ishvara to figure out that all that is here is Ishvara. And that includes you. So Ishvara is all physical bodies, but Ishvara can be looked at from, I can't forget myself. So I say it is this physical body and it is physical body of everybody else, known to me and unknown to me, of the past and of the future. The totality gets a different name. What is the name? Virat.
Okay. Now let's go to the subtle.
Now let's go to the subtle. Now the subtle includes my subtle, which is given just one name. Just a facilitation to see that I am included in Ishvara. I am not excluded in Ishvara. Every part of me is manifestation of Ishvara. Every part, every cell is manifestation of Ishvara. So therefore, this individual, my subtle body is called Tejasa. And the entire subtle body of everyone in the past, in the present, known to me, unknown to me, and in the future is called Hiranyagarbha. The total samashti. Then, as Audrey very rightly said, this physical and subtle is what manifesting from what? Certain causes. My particular causes, which gives rise to not only this body, but will give rise to what? Future bodies of me, one individual, is what we call prajna. Is what? Prajna. My individual causes. And the causes of what? Everybody else, of the past, of the present and the future, is called the totality of Ishvara. Ishvara. Ishvara means all of this. Physical, subtle and what? Causal of the past, of the present and the future, and of you and everyone else.
So the collective Karana Sharira is called Ishvara.
Ishvara, because that then includes everything.
So individual causes is called
Huh?
individual.
Individual is called prajna.
Right now.
Prajna.
And the total causal body is called?
Ishvara.
All three has one common thing.
Excellent. So that means all these three is just what? Play of one Sarvajnaha Sarvashaktiman Ishvara. His capacity to make physical body.
Sanskrit names are
No, I know. It has capacity to make subtle body and it also has capacity to what? Keep all the causes and what? Keep on bringing future things. Okay. So the Sanskrit names, I know they make it slightly more difficult, but this is what really the whole teaching is. Because then what you need to understand is, you can't make any mistake in understanding Ishvara.
Clear.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So therefore, this is what we call Om. And that includes everything. Everything in the sense of what? Anything which is to come. Suppose you are creating new causes, it will create what? Different effects in the future.
Om is an abbreviation of Omkara.
Yes. A, U and Ma. Om is what? Consisting of, Om is a name for Ishvara, the cause of the universe.
You didn't say that.
I did. Om is the name for Ishvara, and when I kept saying, when he says everything, that Om is a name that is given, and Om has three parts, which is what? A, U and Ma. And what is, when we say Ishvara is everything, what it then means is, Akara is what? Standing for the entire physical universe. Is a work of intelligence. Every physical body is a work of intelligence. The physical body of the past, of the present, of the future. So your question about evolution is all included here. The species become extinct, new species come into being. It all is done within what? The work of this intelligence. Each species is able to interact with the universe through subtle body. That subtle body is also equally the work of intelligence, Ishvara. Your subtle and the entire subtle of a human, of a dog, of a what? Bird, of the past, of the present and the future. Ukara. And Makara is what? The causal. And the causal of what? You and everybody else. What does it mean? So that means, I asked you the first question, and that is, the first day, I think if you remember, that today we have a state of environment, which is what? Rise in sea level, global warming, then ozone layer depletion. All of this, where are the causes? How far can you trace back to? And Marisa gave the answer to the Industrial Revolution. Who is putting together all these different causes to produce this state of the environment right now? Absolutely. It is at work. Don't tell me, Ishvara is not some supercomputer who's sitting there and calculating and making. The whole thing is Ishvara. Don't look for location of Ishvara. Don't give it a status of an entity. This shows it's not one of the things in the universe which is driving the universe. It is the whole universe. We can't get out of this feeling that there is somebody out there who's what running us. That is not Vedic vision of Ishvara.
So according to Vedic vision, there is no concept of God.
I don't know what your concept of God is, but that concept of God is not what Ishvara is. What Ishvara is.
The God, yeah.
So
Concept of vision is everything. All is everything.
exactly, that is what you need to understand.
There's no separate.
There is no exactly. If you get it, there is no such separate entity which is away from all of us and governing all of us. This is not the Vedic version of Ishvara.
So basically, if you're going to a temple and you're going there just to get energy of God, and you're pushing each other, you're basically pushing Ishvara as well, right?
Yeah, sure, exactly.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
In order to get inside that temple.
Exactly. See, this temple going itself is not bad because
No,
it's a very good. It's a represent. See, a human buddhi cannot hold this thought that all that is here is Ishvara for very long. The minute you go out there, get busy with your job, you go to work, you have deadlines, you have your kids who go to school, what happens is this everything is Ishvara is very quickly lost. All gone. So that means there is some place where it reminds you of this reality. That place can be a river, that place can be a deity, which, as I told you, this intelligence itself is what, depending upon the function, we do what a given, we give it a given name and we give it a given form, so that that reminds us, hey, there is a presence of Ishvara. So you go to Vishnu and then what you know that, hey, there is this intelligence which is sustaining the whole universe. It reminds you of that. Then you go to Shiva temple, there is this force of destruction which is all pervading in the universe. There is nothing wrong in that. Then when you, as I told you, you lack wealth and you want wealth, you go to Lakshmi, because that intelligence in form of that force which blesses you with resources is given a name and you worship. There is no problem with that. But as Roberto was saying, if you're not used to that and if you're looking at the bird and appreciating Ishvara, it's equally okay. There is no problem. You're looking at the water and you're looking at the beauty and the blessing that water is, you are equally fine. You're looking at the majestic mountain. Anything. And don't forget to look in you also as what manifestation of Ishvara. This is why every day be reminded. You know, people ask, why do you put this thing on the forehead? Because after having seen Ishvara everywhere, the one place you can't forget that it exists is what? Yourself. And you have to show reverence for this body. You have to show reverence for this faculty. It's a gift.
Tomorrow. Brazil people
So that means one needs to, that will do wonders. So that means now what has happened is, where did you start when you came to this class? What was your vision of the world? If you had not attended the Vedanta classes before, where did you start? I'm this small little individual.
World is a complex. Catching the flux of chi, that's the only thing.
And the world is constantly changing and it doesn't always give me what I'm looking for.
You know that I've got enough.
That is before anybody comes to Vedanta,
Yeah, that's true.
that is the perspective we have.
Perspective was completely, for me at least, it was totally different before I came.
Totally different. By the time, this is why the teacher really has to invest. That's why, see, we are not trying to give a perfect class. We are trying to shift the vision of people. That means there is some non-linearity. There is no problem. When people ask questions, people say, oh, that's a distraction. It's not a distraction. It's so important because I'm not here to give you some perfect speech. I'm interested in making you see certain things which otherwise you don't see. And that requires what? A little
Open mind.
interaction, struggle, questions. Sometimes, oh, I don't know. It's fine. It's wonderful. That is the process of knowing.
So far I've understood what you tell me is the akar of Om is just a representation of what is known and unknown in the entire universe,
Physical universe.
physical universe.
Yes.
But is that just for the convenience that it was Om, or there is some deeper reason
No.
behind why it was that and not something else?
If my buddhi wants to contain the understanding of Ishvara in the easiest manner, what word would I use to bring this understanding, the totality of Ishvara in my mind?
Why not ba, something else? Why Om?
That's what I'm saying. This this u and ma, that's it represents, it's just a superimposition. You are right. It's u and ma. There is something which is, this is a good question. Some people say why these three words are chosen. Any other three syllables could be chosen. So they are chosen because of a certain reason, linguistic. When I say every form is Ishvara, every form has a specific name, right? So you are also physical body, I am also physical body, but you get a specific name, and your name is what? Roberto. And I get a specific name, and that is what? Nina. So that means every form also has what? A name. This much is what I call hill. When it reaches a certain height, I call it what? Mountain.
It's nomenclature.
The mountain in India, I call it what? In the north, I call it Himalayas. You say, but why don't you call them all mountain? Hey, and that's how it is. In south, 1 minute, you call it what? Arunachala, Nilgiris. In Switzerland, you call it Alps. In the US, you call it Rocky. So that means every form has what? A corresponding name. Now, so that means your language that you have with you, which cover what? All the names, all the different names that are possible, which represents what? Every form in the universe. So that means to pronounce any name, you have to first open your mouth. When you open your mouth, which is the first sound which comes out? And when you close your mouth, what is the last sound? So that means akara, makara, and in between, ma. In between is what? U. So that means this Ishvara is all the forms and also what? All the names which represent different forms.
But if a philosophy which dares to contain all this explanation in a book form or whatever philosophical form,
Yes.
I'm not prepared to believe that Om is just derived as from that. There has to be a deeper meaning or deeper reason for it.
No,
And I wonder what it is.
What that deeper thing is, what more
Like you give, say, mountain is Alps or this, that way I'm not prepared to believe that the Om was given because it's known unknown.
That's what I'm saying. When you open a mouth, whichever name that you want to pronounce, you have to open your mouth. That is which? The akara. And when you want to close any name that you want to pronounce, you close your mouth, which is makara. So in between this akara and makara, there is what? Whichever sound, which is u. So that means
language was made also, right? This is
for that
any language
linguistic.
in the world, whether it's any French or anything, that this is a physical sound and a physical wisdom before any language was
it doesn't matter which, when you use anything, it is representation to convey the idea. Every word is like that. Why Madhav means this only? Why can't other thing mean Madhav? You never can stop these kind of questions.
No, there is a explanation.
Why you call this thing a tree? Why you can't call it something else? There is no answer for these.
While I agree with what you're saying,
Yeah.
it's not convincing why Om is not Om. Because for the reasons that you are telling me. So,
Yeah. So Akara represents physical world, Ukara represents subtle world, and Makara represents what? The causal world. And can you find one more thing in this universe? You can't. So that means it's the most effective way of what? Using the minimum number of words, conveying the total. In one word, you convey the total.
NASA has a recording of the sun. It sounds of Om.
Of the sun.
So
NASA has a recording, which is, I can probably bring it up.
see, what happens is, you're right, there are some, like for example, even in the universe itself, there are not only names, there are also sounds, right? So the waves have sounds, then there are things which have sounds, and but you know, every sound is what? Ishvara. It's not only one given sound which is Ishvara.
Another explanation.
Unfortunately, when you say it's only that sound, then when I'm talking, that is not Ishvara. You see how impartial that definition will become. If only the ocean and the sun sound is Ishvara, everything else gets what? Excluded. Do you see the problem with this? We don't see this problem. We get so carried away by, oh, NASA said this and this said this. We don't see, by doing that, we are excluding everything else. This is an ingenious way of saying it's everything. You can't exclude anything in your definition of Ishvara. You exclude anything, then what? You have to ask, where did that come from? If Ishvara is only that Om sound which appears in the movement of the sun, then the sound that I'm producing, where is it coming from? Every sound that ever exists is within Ishvara.
Another explanation that somebody told was that this knowledge can be transferred by words. And the first words of any baby born will be U and M. That's why they...
So this is why it's phonetics, as Neeru was saying, it's a phonetic. It's to do with the opening of the what? Mouth.
I used to be told by my grandmother that it was when you say you feel it in your stomach, which is guttural, which is where life comes from. Then you feel it in your chest, and I can't remember what the connection was. And then when you do, you feel your whole brain vibrating. So that's the highest form possible.
Okay. So now, let's go from this. How does it, now I have understood that in my understanding of Ishvara, I cannot afford to exclude anything. If I give it a given thing, then everything else gets excluded. The Vedic vision is, Ishvara is not an entity, it's not sitting somewhere, it's not any given specific sound. It is, the whole is Ishvara. Now, how does that change my life? For everything, you need to see this. If you now begin to do, what is the question here? If you begin to first, how can you contemplate on Omkara unless you know what Omkara stands for? So now you understand Omkara stands for what? Ishvara. And that Ishvara is what? The physical, subtle and total of the past, present, future, known to me, unknown to me, and it includes what? Myself, my physical, my subtle and my causal. In this one word conveys all of this. Can it get any profounder?
So in question 5 there are 2 questions.
Sorry?
Question 5 in reality there are 2 questions.
Okay, wonderful. Now, the second question, wonderful. Roberto is very alert.
What can I get?
Ah, super. So that means now the question is Roberto says he's very alert. He is so keen. He wants to really get it.
What is his question?
So the question is, he's very alert. He says, one is, what do you get by contemplation on this Omkara? That's $1 million question. In the Viresh's words, it would be $1 billion question. What you get is, now, there are 2 aspects of what you get. One is as a human being, we generally live with what we call some amount of feeling of inadequacy, some amount of feeling of incompleteness, some amount of what? Dissatisfaction, feeling of smallness. Everybody does. So that means this is how, and somehow we all, before we come to Vedanta, before we understand this amazing Vedic vision, we have some tendency to feel that we got a raw deal. I worked so hard, but I didn't get enough. Other people are cheating, but they are getting ahead. So that means this is the feeling that we have. This feeling that I'm not feeling good, but somebody else is to blame for it. Then what happens is, the development is here, when you begin to understand that there is an intelligence which organizes every interaction and puts you in different situations, and then what is your thing? You also, whatever happens to you, it's not only others' responsibility, it is also partially your own responsibility. When you begin to understand that, you stop being in a blaming mode. First time that you hear that, it shakes you a little bit. Why? Because you're so as though you created your little comfort area where you convince yourself, I'm fine, but only others have a problem. Then, when the words and all this makes you see that, it's not as simple as that. Every situation that comes to you, everything that comes to you, you have a role there. It shakes you a little bit initially. But if you're really honest, and if you're really, if you reflect on it, then what you can do is correct those things. Suppose I love somebody very much, and I begin to realize that in the name of love, I'm trying to control the other person. And that control is not helping the other person. Then I have a responsibility to change my behavior. if I want what? Harmony in relationship. So that means when you make those changes a little bit, you know, as you begin to see, the words and the teaching will throw a mirror. Where you, if you want to take it, if you want to help yourself with the teaching, you'll make what? Necessary adjustments in your behavior, the way you begin to live your life. And that the minute you make those changes a little bit, it will give you a certain feedback. And your life will become what? Better, relatively better. And unfortunately, what happens is, when it gets a little bit on track, you think that, oh, now I've done the job. No, everything is fine. It's no. If you really, the implication of understanding this Om are way beyond just making those small fixes. Way beyond that. What else will happen? But you have to do each one. You can't jump from here to there. After you have made those shifts, you can't be complacent and stop. You begin to understand this Om, the intelligence which is there, is connecting us to not only just the people, the few 5, 10 people or that we love, but connecting us to what? Everybody else in this universe. So that means you begin to see the interconnections and interdependence. As you begin to see interconnections and interdependence, your sense of responsibility becomes more. What does it in concrete terms, what does it mean? I can't forget one story that Viresh sent me. It was a beautiful story. I've told it in some of my classes. And the story went, I don't remember all the names because I'm not good with the names. But the story went as it was set some place in the US. There was one student who got into Stanford University, and but he didn't have enough money to go to school, pay the fees and go to school. So being that intelligent person, what he thought is, now I can't just give up. I have to raise some money. So how do I raise money? So he came up with an idea, and he says, okay, there is this very famous pianist, and he's a very good artist. So let me request him, and let me tell him to do a concert, and a benefit concert. He has certain fee, right? Whatever, $10,000 or whatever. And when the auditorium is full, beyond that whatever fee he has, whatever else his earning is, that will go towards what? My fees. So he went and spoke to the manager. And the manager said to this pianist that there is this little boy who's got into Stanford and he doesn't have the fees. Are you willing to do it? And the pianist said, yes, sure, I'll do it for him. So now this boy has to do what? He has to organize an event and then what? Sell the tickets, so that what? He gets enough revenue where he can pay the pianist off, and then whatever remains goes towards his fees. Now, as he started selling the tickets, he realized that he was not able to collect enough. So if he paid off 10,000 to this pianist, he would hardly have anything left for him to pay the fees. So he went back to the manager, to this pianist, and he said, sorry, I organized this and all that, but it is not really working out financially for me. So the manager went and told this artist, and the artist said, don't worry, I will not take a single Let everything that we earn from this concert go to this person. And when it goes, if there is still little deficiency, I will give him that. Now this boy was so happy. So now the concert happened, the boy kept the money and went to school. From the second semester onwards, he could get scholarship because he was brilliant. Years passed. This pianist became, after the Second World War, this pianist became the president of Poland. And Poland, after Second World War, there was one year where there was a drought. And when there was a drought, the entire nation was suffering. There was lack of food. And while there was lack of food, he wrote to the President of United States of America. And he said, please, my country needs food. And US sent what? A lot of food, and all the people were saved. Now the President of Poland said, he helped me so much. He helped my whole country. He fed all the people of my country so that they did not suffer in the drought. Let me go personally and thank him. When he went to the US to thank the President of United States for sending so much food aid, the President of the United States told him, you don't need to thank me at all. Why? You saved my country. You saved so many people. He said, no, I have to thank you. You have to thank me? For what? You remember 15, 20 years ago, there was this little boy who came to you for a benefit concert. And you decided to help him. I am that little boy. Interconnectedness. Because you helped me, where I have reached, and that with the least I can do for you is what? Send you food. This is how the world works. Interconnectedness. We don't see, we are so self-absorbed in our little gains, in our self-preservation, in our own kind of a thing of not reaching out. Life presents situations, as I told you, opportunities. People come. And every minute you are making choices. He could have easily said, oh, if he cannot give me my fee, tell him it can't happen. How long does it take? And therefore, every time you extend yourself, understanding that you are connected and that connection will what? In turn bless you. Not only you are helping the person, but what? The presence of intelligence means what? That interconnection means what? The minute you begin to be that person who extends oneself, the universe responds to you in what? In a different way altogether. We have to open our heart so that interconnectedness is the further expansion, because everybody is interconnected. You have a question, Audrey?
I have a very complex question. I don't know if we have time.
Okay.
So from interconnection, I reached out that Ishvara is everywhere, and everything put together by the same intelligence, with the same. We talked about the knowledge, the power, the material. So, and then we talked about individual and collective. But if I am made of the same things that everything else in the world and all of us, then actually I am, you are. At the end of the day.
Yes.
But in that way, the question to relate to this, how does this change my life? It's whatever changed my life, it changed yours. And in this time, I don't know, it's exactly the right question, is how does this change my life? Because whatever of the action-reaction continues, it's whatever changed my life, it changed yours. But if I am you and you are me,
No, you are not me and I'm not you at the level of physical body and the subtle body and the causal body, right? You have your own specific subtle body, you have your own specific causal body and your own physical body, and I have my own. And we are both doing a life journey. And in this life journey, we have come with a certain partial vision of the world. What is the partial vision of the world? That I am separate from everything else. As you begin to change that based on your inquiry and you see your connection with everything else, you begin to behave differently. Because your ignorance of certain facts which existed have what? Gone.
Just being the part of the big one.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah?
And karmas are different, right?
And the karmas
The
are
karmas.
different. That's why you
Absolutely. What is the next thing that happens? It's this interconnectedness that we are talking about. As the Audrey very rightly said, the interconnected is not just this interconnectedness, it is what? Manifestation of Ishvara. And Ishvara, and what? You begin to be aware of what? All the intricate laws of Ishvara. Dharma, laws of dharma. Ishvara manifests not only as intelligence but as laws which govern the working of the interactions of different forms. Your life begins to be aligned to the laws of Ishvara. One is Samanya Dharma, the universal ethical values. The second is, what did we see last night when everybody was a little tired? Swadharma. And the other one was Lokasangra. Our definition of dharma itself what? Begins to expand. Lokasangraha. Lokasangraha means I begin to think about what the impact of my actions on everybody else. And I become what? Contributor. Because by being a contributor, I not only help others, I what? Also help myself. So the equations of life undergo change. This is what we say alignment to Ishvara's law, dharma. There is another aspect which is a very, very important aspect. I don't know if I have time. I don't have a time. I've passed satsang time. I don't have time, but the presence of Ishvara, the understanding of presence of Ishvara also does something very deep and fundamental to one's emotional life. What that is, we will see tomorrow.
That's question answer.
Huh?
Question answers.
Yeah. Okay.
Come on, Rajiv.
It's a lot of
Yeah, I'll close with a prayer, then you can ask questions. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate Om Shanti 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 Om Shri Guru Pyo